Now we're going to talk about animation in Unity. Our current setup requires us to swap out the sprite based on what's happening. And while that works fine for a single sprite swap like we've got here, having it to do it for running and climbing and swimming and all kinds of things wouldn't really be feasible. In fact, having to do it just for walking alone would mean that we'd have to constantly switch out the sprite every frame or every couple frames at whatever speed we wanted. There's an easier way to do that, and there's a built-in system for doing it using the animation system. So I'm going to stop playing, and we're going to create some new animations for our character. To do that, I'm going to right click on my assets folder. So first down in my project view, go to the assets root folder. I'm going to right click and I'm going to create a new folder and I'm going to call this animation. This is just where I want to store my animations. I'm going to now go over to the animation window. So go to window and look for animation and animation, or you can hit Control 6 or Command 6 is probably your hotkey for it. So you hit that button and you'll get a new animation window. It's going to look like this and not be super useful by default. That's okay. We're going to take it, we're going to drag it down here and dock it onto the bottom of our animations, or our bottom of our bottom window. So it's locked in with our game view, the plastic window, the console, and the project. Now I'm going to go select my alien and notice that this create button appeared because it knows that, hey, there's some stuff on here. I could create an animation for this. Before I create an animation for my player though, I'm going to rename him. So instead of having this be Alien Blue Front and having a bunch of animations that are named after Alien Blue Front, I'm going to rename him to Player. So click the left click on him and type in Player, or again, you can go up here into the inspector and just type in Player. Then we'll hit the create button down here with him selected, and we're going to get some new animations for our player. We'll go to the animation folder to save it in, and the first one is going to just be a walk animation. So I'll just replace the text down here with walk with a capital W. In fact, I'm going to put player walk so that I've got a nice player specific animation name. I've got my player walk animation, and look at this. I've now got this weird little timeline with nothing in it that does nothing when I drag. What I want to animate is the sprite renderer's sprite. So to do that, I've got a couple different options. I can either go in here, hit record, and then change out the sprite partway through, or I can take the shortcut, which is to take the sprite files from our project view. So if I go select my sprite, let's go to the project view first. So go to project view, click on my sprite renderer, the sprite right here to go select it and find it. And I can see I've got my walk 1 and walk 2. I'm going to turn this into a list view. I've got my walk 1 and walk 2. And then I'm going to put this side by side with the animation window. So to do that, I'll just take my animation window, drag it right over here. So it's kind of side by side. And I'm going to take walk 1, click on it. Take walk 2, hold shift and click so that they're both selected. And then I'm going to drag them right over here to the right onto the animation window. And then we'll hit sprite renderer, and that's going to create an animation for the sprite renderer. Now, if you're wondering why it had a pop-up there to say player, that's actually something kind of new, and it'll allow me to animate the jump sprite of the player. It was looking for a sprite that it could animate, and it saw that too, so it gave us two options. But what we wanted to choose was sprite renderer, which is what I did, and you can see now the sprite has changed to Alien Blue Walk 1. Let's zoom in a little bit by holding the control key. And zoom in and zooming just a little bit with the mouse wheel. You can see I've got this 2-frame animation. It's not very useful. If I click here, I can drag back and forth between the 2 frames, and I can hit the play button and watch them go very, very fast. That's way too fast of an animation though. So I'm going to zoom out here and look at this timeline. When I get to the 1:00, that's 1 second. So if I take the second dot here, just drag it out. Let's see if I can get it. Oh, Control Z. Take the line here and drag it out to 1 second. Now it's going to switch frames once per second. But notice that at the end of the frame, it goes right back to the first walk state. So let's stop playing. Drag this out. See, right here, it's on walk 1. When it gets over to here, it goes to walk 2, and then it instantly bounces back to walk 1. So I want to make it go through all of these. I want it to go to this one, then to this one, and stay on this one for a little while before it switches back. So I'll drag this over to about the 0.2 area. Then I'll select this first pixel right here, this first little dot, go select it and hit Control C. Go over to the 0.4 area and hit Control V. That's going to give me another keyframe that's of walk 1. So notice this one's selected, it's on walk 1. If I go over to here, So on walk 2, it was walk 1, walk 2, and if I hit play now, I've got an animation that switches between the two. If I want to speed this animation up, I select all of these keyframes, grab this little line right here at the end to just scale it down. Now it's a faster walk at half the speed, or half the time and double the speed. Right, it's a little bit less than half. I think I went over a tiny bit further than intended. There we go. So now I've got my walk animation on here. Let's press play and see what this looks like in game. I should expect to see my character walking and animating pretty much all the time. There we go. He's animating, he's walking. I run back and forth. And now when I jump, look at that. My sprite is no longer in a jump sprite. It's being overridden by this animation system. So we're going to have to do something with that. But so far, it's kind of good, right? Like we're walking, we're getting the sprite kind of showing. I think that this is probably too fast for us. It's not really the speed that I want to be at. I think I want to scale that back up. So let's zoom out. I've got the character selected. Go select the player. Go to the animation. If you don't see the animation, make sure you select it right there. Zoom out with the mouse wheel. I'm going to drag this out to about that 0.4. Let's see. We walk now. That's kind of closer. Let's go to the 3 right there. Yeah, that's probably about where I want it for now. So now that I've got it at a level that I think I like, I'll stop playing and let's examine what's happening here. How is this all working? How is this animation playing? And why is it taking over? The animation is playing automatically because of this animator component that was added to the player. When we added the animation and created it on here, it automatically added this animator component. It created this player animation controller and it assigned the player walk animation to it. If I double click on this controller, it pops up the animator window. And this is where some people tend to get confused in Unity with animations and the animator. Really what's going on is the animations are individual animations. So think of like a jump movement or a running movement or a shooting movement. Those are the individual movements. The animator is the thing that ties them together and controls which one is playing at any specific time. The animator here is just playing this player walk animation. I can zoom out on the animator and zoom in with my mouse wheel. I can use the left mouse to pan around, and I can click and drag to move things around and select them. Right here you can see that on entry, so when this animation or animator starts up, the first thing it does is go right into the player walk animation, and then that thing just sits there and plays over and over and over. It never switches out of the player walk state. So we're going to have to figure out a way to modify the state, change it, and switch between different animations, whether it's an idle animation, a climbing, a running, a swimming, a jumping, or anything else. But for now, we need to know that this is here and this is what's starting it. So let's save, go into Plastic, commit our animation and our new animator controller, and then start to think about what we can do to tie into this animation system to make our player a little bit cooler. So we'll go to the Plastic SCM folder, make sure that we've saved, that we added walk animation to the player, and commit or check in.